This is from Jessica from Lincoln, Nebraska, in the great United States of America. Hey guys, I wanted to let you know that I've been listening to your Patreon show and I'm loving it. Thank you, Jessica. She's a Patreon listener. When managing my campaigns, I always use top impression share and absolute top impression share to determine whether to increase or decrease my bids. But there are some keywords that are blank for that metric. So on those ones, I look to see what search impression share is. If it populates a number there on the search impression share, I can then determine that there are, in fact, impressions available, and my bids are obviously way too low. So I need to bump them up, the bids. But sometimes this metric is also blank. If there are no impression metrics showing for a keyword, can I assume nobody is searching for that term, or does it mean I need to bump up my bids? Thanks again for taking time to answer my question. Much appreciated.
This is what I'm talking about with the questions. Like, that's an amazing question. Like, that's why I love getting questions for the Q&As, because that's not something we're going to do a show about, because it just doesn't, we haven't run into that problem, or when we do run into that. We see that,
Sure.
But it's something we know and we're going to answer now. But that's why I love these questions, because they open up new topics of discussion. So Jessica in Omaha, thank you for that question. And Lincoln, Nebraska. Sorry. Omaha, Lincoln cities. Yeah. Lincoln is the home of the Cornhuskers. Chris, what I'm thinking there is a totally different option than she mentioned, in that I'm going to be careful with my words here. I'm thinking the word is too many keywords, but I don't want to put a negative spin on it. What I'm saying is, Jessica, you might have a situation where you have a keyword like divorce lawyers in Lincoln, Nebraska, phrase match, and then you might have a broad match modified keyword like divorce lawyers. And possibly one of those keywords is getting all the impressions that the longer tail one would, maybe because you're bidding more on one of them or something like that. And my point is, Chris, maybe she doesn't have too many keywords, but maybe there's just a certain segment of her keywords that get the impressions. There's other keywords that are not getting the impressions, and it's not because no one searches for those words. Maybe they don't. I don't know what the keywords are, but it doesn't have to mean that if they're not getting impressions, if the search impression share is a blank line, if absolute top and top are blank lines, it just means that they're not getting impressions. That's how I would interpret it. And the question is, okay, if they're not getting impressions, does that mean you're bidding too low? Or does that mean no one's searching for them? Or does that mean they are searches that people search for, but your other keywords that also qualify for those searches are getting that traffic? It could mean any of those three things. And so basically, I would have a two-step process. One, I would go to the preview tool and I would do a search for the search you want to show up on from that keyword. And I would go, okay, am I there? Am I too low? And you got to focus on your budget and time of day and all that kind of stuff. But if you're supposed to show, do you show? And if you show, then that means you're good, and possibly another keyword is getting that search. If you don't show, that means you might have an issue, and that could be because your search impression share lost due to rank is really high and you need to up your bids. Or if you do show and you still don't get any traffic or impressions for that search term, then it could mean people aren't searching for it. So, Chris, to wrap it up here, there's a lot of different reasons why you wouldn't be getting impressions on one keyword, but when everything's blank, it doesn't tell me that no one's searching for it. It doesn't tell me that I'm bidding too low. It just tells me that for that keyword, I'm not getting impressions. And then going back, why am I not getting impressions? Well, there's kind of three different scenarios I just ran through. Is that what a blank line on search impression share and absolute top and top impression share would mean?
I think the thing to take in account here, Jessica, is the other status warnings that are going to be available with the keywords. You're definitely going to have to pay attention to those. If it says below first page bid and it does not say low search impression share, and all of it's 0, then it is essentially a bidding issue. Right?
And your loss due to ad rank is 90%.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. You have to go back to the campaign level, look at your
No, for that
search
keyword too.
impression share. Yeah, you could do it for one keyword. That's true.
Yeah.
You can look at search impression share and search impression share
Lost her
rank
to
for
ad
that one
rank. Yeah.
keyword. And if it's 90% and you are still above first page, you're basically just getting, you're hitting the very bottom and getting pushed off. You're enough to hit the first page, but it's not enough to get you impressions. So yes, the answer to your initial question, if there's no impression metric showing for a keyword, can you assume nobody's searching, or do you need to bump up the bids? And the answer is you need to
Other
bump up
data.
bids. If
Other data will
yeah,
tell you.
other data will tell you. And if it does not say low search impression share for that keyword, that means you need to bump bids. There are people searching for it. So yeah.
And focus on that loss due to ad rank. That'll tell you if you need to bump bids. And then the preview tool will help. And there was one more thing I was thinking, Chris. It was so good, and I'm so sorry, Jessica. Just flew away like a little birdie. Flew away like my first wife, just a little birdie. Just That's not.
Here we go. All right, so we got a question from Dave. You want to hit us with that?
I want to know what I was thinking there so
It'll come back
badly, Chris. So badly. Oh, I got it. I got it. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. Search impression share, absolute top impression share, top impression share. If you look at those columns the day of, then they're usually always blank. The day of. If you look at today's data.
That's a good point.
Wasn't that worth it? Wasn't that worth a little fake joke about a first wife to potentially piss off Cynthia? Like, wasn't that worth it? And the dead air and all that. Wasn't that worth it? Wasn't that a great tip, Chris?
Yeah, that's especially for the search impression share. If she's not looking at the past 7 days or at least yesterday.
At least yesterday. And it depends on what time in the morning. If you look at yesterday, maybe it's not in there yet.
Yeah.
But I have noticed absolute top impression share, and search impression share, and the different search impression share columns, they don't load in for today's data. And
because it's no longer data. Average position. Average position would show immediately, but no longer is that true now that average position's gone, and we now have impression share percentages, which is now delayed typically by 18 to 24 hours. So yeah.
Speaking of first wife and all that, it's like average position. That was our first wife. And we're building her up in our head. And the second wife is there, and she's like, "Look how much I do for you. Look how great I am. I have absolute top if you want it. I got top impression share if you want it. I got all these different metrics. It's better. Truly, it's probably better. But in our head, we don't forget the bad things about average position. We just glorify it. Oh, the first wife. Oh, it was so great. Then what? She's like, well, then why'd you get a divorce in the first place? Okay, Jason. So Chris, my point is I'm coming to kind of enjoy absolute top impression share and top impression share. I mean, man, this is a question later in the show. Like maybe actually this is Chris, this is how you do podcasting. No, this isn't this is podcasting. This is how you do.
What the heck is happening?
Chris, this is how you do radio. Chris, I have a radio thing. I was just talking about I was going to talk about how you got to give Google some slack with the changes, because change is hard, but then when you start using it for a long time, you're like, wow, the new interface is awesome. Wow, absolute top impression share, that is probably better than average position, just like you guys said. But I was angry at the time. And so great radio would have been a transition clean without mentioning it, Chris, right to this question about changes that Google makes. So Dave,